Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka... And we are back with another Twitter thread. Boy, it is a real joy to not have to do one of these every week, for two reasons. Firstly, we get better prompts, and secondly, I get to be on Twitter less. It's not good out there these days. Today I want to talk about formats, and no, I'm not talking about old formats like Toss and Tengu and Edison and, God forbid, Goat. I'm talking about alternative ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Officially sanctioned by Konami. If you're unfamiliar, Advanced hasn't always been the only way we play the game. There's a ton of other things that Konami has allowed us to do with the cardboard they generously sell us at $500 a piece, and today I want to talk about some of those that have fallen by the wayside, beginning with this one, Generation Duels. This was a Super 6-side event that was hosted at a dozen or so YCSs. Instead of one ban list, it had 5. One for Yu-Gi-Oh!, one for Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, one for Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, one for Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, and one for Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V, then the most recent anime that was airing. Each individual ban list banned way different cards than other ones, and you would align yourself with a specific era of Yu-Gi-Oh!, then fight for your era. If you were in Yu-Gi-Oh! For instance, you could play a whole host of powerful spells and traps like Pot of Greed and Graceful Charity, with the downside of not being able to play a lot of the modern monsters that plague the metagame. If memory serves, the best thing you could be doing in this format was picking Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, whose ban list was specifically tailored to hit cards like Spore that made synchro summoning just a little bit too accessible, and then just play True Draco. The list was updated a couple of times if memory serves, but unfortunately it was never taken particularly seriously and was dropped before Vrains. So, let's see what you all came up with. But first, this video is sponsored by React: The Arts of War. React is a 1v1 dueling card and board game with fast-paced reaction and chain-based gameplay reminiscent of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic. Take control of one of 8 unique artists with their own magical powers based on their mastery of different art forms. Each has their own deck, distinct playstyle, and cute little dealios to help you dominate the board. For the old heads in the audience, you may remember me playing a little bit of React in its very early stages like 4 subathons ago. I loved it. Well, it's finally ready for mass consumption and for your wallet. React is available now at the link below in the description for only $60. Now back to the video. Alex has a great answer: Pegasus Challenge at Nationals. If you all are unfamiliar, at WCQ events where Pegasus's voice actor was available, they occasionally ran a huge tournament called the Pegasus Challenge. Not unlike my series of the same name, which none of you watched. But the short of it was they would just put the VA on a mic, you would play a normal Swiss tournament, and every, say, 5 minutes, the VA would be like, "Hello, duelists. This turn, you'll play your cards face down." And then you'd have to do it.
Choose a monster, a spell, and a trap card from your graveyard, and set them all onto your field.
Ooh, extremely powerful.
It was a ton of fun. One of my favorite moments at the 2017 NAWCQ, where they did fire this event, was Zodiac was absolutely everywhere and completely dominant, and the VA got on the mic to say, "And now, duelists, send all Zodiac monsters to the graveyard." And everyone just went, "Ah!" Doug says, "You already know, though." Oh, God, I miss Battle Pack. The very short period that we got to spend as Yu-Gi-Oh! Players with Limited was just so nice. For a short period of time, top cuts at select YCSs were played not with constructed decks, but in a second format, Limited, a la Magic the Gathering's large events, and you would draft from their specific draft sets, Battle Packs 1, 2, War of the Gods, and 3 Monster League. I actually am not really a fan of Monster League, just because I find the little added thing a little contrived. If you've never drafted Battle Pack 3, there's a custom rule that all monsters are all types. So a bunch of cards that like should be bad because you have to be playing fish monsters are insane. That said, Battle Pack was a sick-ass draft environment, and some of my fondest memories playing modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is often just playing a cube that seeks to emulate Battle Pack rules. Speed Duel was kind of sick, says E3. Oh man. Yeah, it was kind of sick. I was gonna make a video chronologing like all of Speed Duels, starting at the very first release of the cards, going through each individual format, saying what was good and what was bad. Kind of like the Link Haribo video I made, a little bit of a mini video essay. Unfortunately, someone already did that. This week, in my sub box, showed up the PerformaPal Odd Eyes Synchron Pepe Frog YouTuber, and they had just made that video. And I was like, okay, well, there it is. Speed Duel was nice. I really appreciated the lower to the ground style of gameplay. I really liked what skill cards enabled, a la Duel Links. They never got so unbelievably ridiculous that they were just novels the way that Duel Links skills are. Unfortunately, the actual formats were just pretty bad. Over and over again, the formats would be dominated by one deck or strategy. There were very few in which there were a ton of playable decks, usually only one that was viable relative to everything else, frequently only 2 or 3. With a little more care put into balancing the format, it could have been really good, and with a little more care put into running events, it could have been really good, and unfortunately it got neither. Shouts out to those Speed Duel packs, though. I'm glad they audibled off of those after they sold 0 copies. How do you release a pack and it has no impact on the metagame? They did it like 12 times. The only reason those ever sold is because they were releasing them around COVID and Jake Paul Pokemon fever just sort of rubbed off on them. Sneaks! My local still does them, and it's fun to try and find good synergies between bad cards, although sometimes you pull absolute garbage. I love Sneak Peek. Oh my god. It's really unfortunate that the sealed deck gameplay from Sneak Peeks has been so absolutely forgotten. Almost everywhere I know that plays anything resembling a sneak in the modern era basically just runs an advanced tournament the day of a set release. It used to be you would get X amount of packs from the new set, build a deck from that, and play around. Unfortunately, not only is that not alluring to Yu-Gi-Oh! Players anymore, set designers stopped designing with the Sneak Peek in mind, and so you get cards like Digit Jamming and Pote that just absolutely ruin the sealed environment. Oh, did Dueling Network get taken down? Stuck trying to get a Minecraft mod to get your online fix? Konami already had given us Ungrateful Rubes exactly what we didn't know we needed. A fuck-ass app in Congregate. I think you mean in Facebook, though yes, it was also on Congregate. Let's watch some Yu-Gi-Oh! BAM gameplay. Look at this. I mean, this is... You're following this, right? You see what's... He's got immunity, of course. That's... You have to be able to beat the 62,100 attack points, right? And the Neo Aquamador, you always summon that with 158,000 attack points. You remember this. Legacy Duels and Duel Links, one of the most underrated card formats of all time. Great restructured card pool that tried to make everything usable to much success. The result was some really fun non-meta decks like Barrel Dragon and Cyberdark being playable. God, there really were a lot of huge strides taken by Duel Links in innovating new formats. I mean, Duel Links is at its core an alternate format of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just frustrating that so many of them were sequestered to exactly this application. If there was any other way to play these, I really would be on it like flies on shit. The final 4 of banger-ass, boss-ass duel trials. 30 seconds, 2025 LP, Nibiru the Primal Being, and Tryout Duel Rental Competition 1. Okay, so this last one is kind of the black sheep of the family. They just give you decks. I gotta be honest, though, the rental competition has always made me feel that there is some space in Yu-Gi-Oh! For a sort of constructed format in which the decks are disseminated beforehand. Like, would Yu-Gi-Oh! Players play a rental Mons format? Is that something they'd be interested in? I wonder. Rivalry of Warlords! God, I love Rivalry. I played at YCS events always at least once. It's a great time. All the rental decks feel pretty balanced, even if some are clearly better than others. Also, I love reading. Getting a packet I need to read and digest is soul food. Shouts out to the people who are grinding Rivalry of Warlords. We've got some people in Danny's Discord who, like, know all of the ins and outs of each of the decks and, like, go to YCSs explicitly to play this format. I love it. I love it. I love it. Really makes me feel like there is something there in terms of rental Mons for Yu-Gi-Oh! Yes! Oh my god. Not sure if this counts. This is a little out there in terms of what I'm looking for the Twitter thread, but I think it is worth talking about the weird sort of type matchups Yu-Gi-Oh! From Sacred Cards and Reshep of Destruction. This later got adapted into the, like, lunar cycles and, like, I'm aligning my cards with Mars type shit from Forbidden Memories. The shit you were playing in the early video games is not Yu-Gi-Oh!, but it is fun. I absolutely love the boss format in Japan, taking as much inspiration from the anime as possible, players being able to activate each other's face downs, sharing resources, reviving teammates, with bosses from the first 4 series with hidden effects. I wish it got imported. It's actually really strange. I'd never heard of this. So I found this Reddit thread from a decade ago that has the proxied out versions of the 4 decks referenced in this tweet for an OCG Yu-Gi-Oh! Day that took place in 2015. Look at this. Wow. I don't know. I may give this a shot. This is tight as fuck. Remember beta format? I've never heard of this thing, but it smacks of Trinity. Duelists dueling under this format are restricted to a maximum of 3 summons per turn. One apiece of the following options: a normal, a special from the extra deck, and a special from a place other than the extra deck. It was run at a few YCSs as a side event from 2015 to 2017 and then never again. It's Yugi Boomer YouTube comments about limiting special summons as a format. It's one of those scenarios where, like, you have to be really careful with card legality because a deck like direYGO can blow this shit wide open. But I would really like to see what people played in this. If you played any beta format event ever, please tell me in the comments what people were on. I need to know. Rush. This one's so easy, but I don't know why they don't have Rush. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Oh, I have a little thing to show you all, though. Someone at the YCS came up to me and they were like, I know how much you like Rush duels. So here's what I had made. And they handed me these perforated pieces of paper that have little proxies of the Rush Duel cards printed on them for the Dragon and the Spellcaster starter deck in English. I was like, fuck, man. Thank you. Also, why do we have these? I'll do anything to play these fucking cards. Despite the fact that traditional format is one of, if not the earliest alternative formats to exist, I don't know a single person who actually plays it. Has anyone ever played a game of traditional format this decade? It's so weird to be like, oh yeah, there's a ton of interesting ways to play with Yu-Gi-Oh cards. However, the one that they're still maintaining a ban list for is not one of them. It's been so long since I've ever engaged with traditional format. If ever. I really like Common Charity. Any kind of format where you have to use lower powered or less meta-relevant cards is always so much fun. I always wish that you could use the higher rarities of cards that have been printed at common, like with Pauper in Magic the Gathering. I really did like the concept of Common Charity. Unfortunately, like pretty much all of the other stuff on that paper that Konami gave to us to tell us the new formats they were sanctioning, they really did not support it at all. They never answered really basic questions about the format, like the weird Portuguese commons that perennially come up. The only reason Time Wizard stuck is a bunch of community members made it their business to make sure it did. Dyer says, NR format, my beloved, please bring it back, Konami. It's so crazy that we got a Master Duel format in which you could just buy any deck for free. They ran it once, and then they were like, we're done forever. The fact that NR has, like, a player base to this day of people that are just happy to be able to craft anything is hilarious. And I think the reason they'll never bring it back is because it didn't make them any money. As someone who loves Yu-Gi-Oh, not the Yu-Gi-Oh advanced format all the time, it really is exciting to know that there are a ton of different ways that you can enjoy this game we all play together. I just wish some of them had a little more longevity. Konami, Rush Duels, come on. Yu-Gi-Oh! Goat format, but with 3 Pankratops. That's a classic.